Okay, can you hear me okay? Yep, okay. I would like to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. Before I introduce my good friend and speaker this morning, there's a few people I want to thank.
You have my face all over you. Get away from the screen. Let's go this way.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first want to thank St. Catherine. First want to thank. Oh, there we go. St. Catherine's Parish for allowing us to host this special event. I want to thank Cheryl Gayworth, who was instrumental in making today's presentation happen. I also want to thank our sponsors, the Morgan and Redwood KCs and the Morgan CCW, the St. Catherine Church, and Compassionate Friends. And there was many other small donors too, and we sure appreciate it. Now I'd like to introduce my good friend, Deb Hadley, who we've been friends for probably 20 years now. Got to know her through the Redwood County 4-H program. You were,
Yep.
What were you called, the coordinator?
I was the 4-H program coordinator, and he was the his wife is the horse superintendent. Yeah, were you part of that too? Were you a horse superintendent?
Well, no, I would say she pretty much took care of it.
She pretty much called the shots.
She
Becky?
called it,
All
yeah,
right,
she
all right,
definitely
yep.
called the shots. But anyway, Deb has been a good friend for a long time. I've been following her on her faith journey, and she's been instrumental to me even. You know, I wake up many mornings and listen to your God Boost, and yeah, it's just very an encouraging message you give, and kind of helps me put a smile on my face drinking my cup of coffee in the morning.
I love it, yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. It wasn't until Deb endured 2 tragic losses in her life that our friendship really, I think, blossomed. Unfortunately, both times, I was gone when she experienced the loss of her kids, and for some reason, when I got home from these trips, and I think it was the Holy Spirit, you know, compelled me, I got to go stop and see Deb, you know, and that's, you know, hard to do because it's hard to find the words. What do you say? And basically, as we talked, it was more I listen and let you talk. And but anyway, it's when you reach out to people in senses of loss, it means so much. And I think our friendship blossomed more and more because of that. And
Well, I think it did because it turned from one of friendship to one of faith. And that's what tragedy does to us. And if I add to the story, because you should back up a little bit, I hadn't seen Myron. He's part of the 4-H program, and I'm the 4-H program coordinator. So I hadn't seen him for 6-7 years. Like I couldn't even remember his name was Marvin. You know, it was like I know it's different. It's that you know. And so this was after my daughter had passed away, and so I hadn't seen him, and he showed up at my doorstep. And as I said to him, I go, it was such an awkward comfort, because why is he at my house? I am so broken, I can hardly keep my head up. And now this man, I can't remember his first name, is standing at my house. But I knew from what I experienced with him that he had a kind heart. I mean, I knew, like, we were close, and with his wife and his kids, and like, they were very part of my life, but not for 6-7 years. And I said, the part that I remember is that he came in, Tyler was sitting on the couch, we were watching the NBA finals, and Scott was there, and Myron sat in the chair, and I sat, and I don't remember a lot of conversation, but I just remembered the presence of I care. And he was there, and I said it was so awkward, but then it was very comforting. But that just brought us on this journey of digging into faith and you and Becky being great supporters of our foundation and bringing me here and just growing in faith together. So it's been a beautiful gift that would not have happened had you not been prompted to come awkwardly to my house and sit on the chair. So I just remember how important those moments are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But anyway, Deb is getting to be very well known all over the U.S. and even somewhat internationally. She does many support groups in many different areas and been such a comfort to so many people. But anyway, thank you, Deb, for
Thank you.
coming.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to your...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Give them a little round of applause, would ya? All righty. Just get it. All right, you know, it's one of those where the clicker works until it doesn't work. All right, are you with me? Okay, so first of all, as he said, my name's Deb Hadley. I now live in Alexandria, Minnesota, and we're so grateful to be here. I feel like I'm back home. I feel like this is where I started, because I did do the 4-H program here and drove to Redwood Falls every day. And there's so many people that are familiar to me that are here, and I'm incredibly grateful. The talk, we just put finding joy, embracing life through faith. And I'm just really honored to share with you just how the Lord has really transformed me, and how no matter where you are in your life, no matter what hardships you have, that God can take your deepest pain and turn it into something absolutely beautiful. And in this Bible verse, James 1:2-3, which is one of my favorites, it says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy." So if you have any hardships that are coming your way, well, congratulations. Consider that an opportunity for great joy. It's a changing your mindset of like, this is a hard thing, and the Lord will bring great joy from it. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And when I see this Bible verse, for you know that when your faith is tested, because a lot of times we find the Lord when our faith is being tested, right? I would never be standing up here in front of you unless my faith was tested. But once it was tested and I had nowhere to go but with the Lord, my endurance grew so full that you really become perfect and complete, needing nothing. Not perfect in this world, but not being afraid or anxious or worried because you know you're not from this world. And you know that the hardships that happen, the Lord is with you, and you know that we're made for eternity. And so my comfort zone, I have always felt like a square peg in a round hole just trying to fit in. And now after all the tragedy, I feel very peaceful and very comfortable that I'm living in the call that the Lord has for me, which comes only from deep pain. So this Bible verse, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. Doesn't that sound great? So the Lord is saying this to you. I've told you these things. What has he told you? What has he told you? I've told you these things. It's in the Bible. I have told you. Wouldn't it be great to know how to have peace? All right, I'll tell you what the answer is. In this world, you will have trouble. That's where the peace comes from. But take heart, I have overcome the world. This is John 3:16. I used to only show the bottom part and say to people, in this world, you will have troubles, but take heart, I've overcome the world. But the most important part is the top part, where it says, well, I've told you, but he's told us it's all over the Bible, but sometimes we don't read it. I know I didn't. He told us we would have troubles, but the biggest part, so that in me you may find peace. So when we have hardships in the world and we turn away from him, which is really easy to do at times, and wonder where he is, and how could a good God do this to us, we so easily turn away from him, and then we lose all of our peace and we lose all of our strength. And there's 4 things that we need to remember about John 16:33. Number 1, in this world you will have troubles. And you know what? It is normal. So anybody in here not have any problems, no issue, life is great, you're perfect, anybody? Yeah, get out. You, out the door right now, yeah. Because that's not true, right? Everybody has a hardship of some type. So the first one, that it's normal. The second thing is that you should expect it. If you have not had a big blow in your life, someone that you love die on you, a diagnosis of some sort happen to you, a loss of a job, a divorce, an estranged child, addiction somewhere, abuse, any of that, if you haven't had that, you're very, very fortunate at this point, but you should expect that something big is going to happen to you. And so don't be shocked about it. It's not, some people are like, oh my gosh, it's me. It's just like, oh, of course it's me. Well, no, it's not you. It's normal, and that you should expect it to happen. The third thing is that it is incredibly purposeful. And that's the hardest thing. How can there be purpose in loss? How can there be purpose in so much suffering? How can there be purpose when a mother passes away suddenly and leaves children? How can there be purpose when a dad leaves their kids? How can there be any purpose in that? It makes absolutely no logical sense. But the purpose isn't in the death and in the loss. The purpose is in you and how you change from the inside out and what you bring to the world as a result of it. And so, like, the Amber Alert came from Jacob Wetterling being kidnapped. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers came against a mother who lost their child to drunk driving. People in AA, the best ones are the ones who went through the program, the ones that suffered. Addiction counselors, they're the best. People who have had loss in their life of a spouse, you want to talk to someone who lost a spouse. If you lost a child, you want to talk to some compassionate friends. That's why you're so great, because you've all lost children. You want to be with people who get you. So the purpose can come through you if you're willing to help the next person in line, and it can transform you. It's so powerful. The purpose part, I think, if there is no purpose in suffering, then I'm mad. I mean, what a bunch of crap, right? I mean, like, we would go through all this hardship and get nailed again and nailed again and nailed again and be drugged so low for nothing, just to feel it. Because if our attitude is that it's for nothing, then our life is just gonna tank. It's just gonna tank. But if we know that we trust God and that He says that, hey, you know what, you're gonna have troubles, it's gonna be hard, and in me you're gonna find peace. Oh, and consider it complete joy when troubles come your way because of the endurance it can produce and the purpose it can produce. Great things can happen if you grab onto the Lord and you trust Him. And the fourth thing is that it is so powerful. It is in the pains of hell. Some of you have been drugged through the pains of hell. Your friends have, you have, I have. There's something so beautiful down in the pains of hell that you only get when you're there. A closeness to God, when you surrender to God and you almost feel His voice, like you feel Him, because you cannot, for me, I couldn't go on without Him. There was something really beautiful in that I never want to experience ever again. But don't waste that suffering. When it's so deep and it's so hard and you can't go on, don't waste it. So just know your struggles, they are normal. You should expect them. They are purposeful. You might not see the purpose in it for years and years or until you get to heaven and the Lord says, hey, look at that. And then you'll go, oh, that's why. And then the last thing is that it's incredibly powerful. Unconditional faith. Let's talk about it. What is unconditional faith? What is it? Anyone shout it out. What is unconditional faith? I wish I had prizes. What does that mean, though? What does He want for us? I know I just threw you under the bus, didn't I? It's a gift. Unconditional faith is a gift. So let's define what the gift is. What is it? If I said to you, I'll just say, show of hands to everyone who has unconditional faith. What are you showing your hands for? What does that mean? Oh my gosh, you win. Trusting God no matter what. Well, I'll tell you what, if someone said to me, do you have unconditional faith? Years ago, absolutely, I have unconditional faith. Will you trust Him no matter what? Yes, I will. Well, unconditional faith is super simple to have if you haven't had any hard things happen. I mean, when you pray that the loved one's gonna come home, and they do, and the cancer's gonna go into remission, and it does, it's like, oh my gosh, God is so good. You pray that you win the basketball game, or that the marriage is saved, or you get the job, or whatever it is. Then unconditional faith is so easy because we can understand that. It's a prayer answered the way we get it. So of course I have unconditional faith. But what happens when the cancer comes back? Now it's stage 4 and it's ravaged all over the body. What happens when the addict starts using again? What happens when the family falls apart? What happens when the loved one does not come home? Then do we trust him? That's the big question. It will be in the fire. That's where you'll find out if you have unconditional faith, because it's so easy to say you have it until you're in the fire. And unconditional faith that I have, trusting God no matter what, I was very, very lukewarm. I'll take you on my journey to where I was. But the grief work that I do, that we hear all the time, I went to church, I prayed, I gave money, I was on the board, I did everything. I had them on the prayer chain, and they still died. God doesn't even listen. And they turn away, as if God is a vending machine for us, and that we do these things so that he'll protect us. He protects us in a different way. So unconditional faith, we'll move on. This is my family. And so that's how I can share my journey, is through my family, as what's his name, Myron said. There's not a lot of Myrons that I know, Myron. But it's through my family that I can share with you where my hardships came, but also where all the beauty is from. And so this is our family, and the first thing is that we're a blended family. We're a his, hers, and ours. So that right there is a suffering that our children had to endure, something on their journey that they had to experience. And so Scott and I have been married for 32 years. He is on the right, and he came into our marriage with Jesse, who is in the brown shirt next to him, and Josh over here on the left. Jesse was 7, and Josh was 9 at the time. I came into the marriage with Kaylee, who has the white on, who's to this side. And she came from my first marriage. She was 5. And then Tyler is ours that we had together. So we have his, hers, and ours. And the thing I love, Josh and Jesse, they refer to me as their bonus mom, and I refer to them as my bonus kids. I used to call them step kids because I want to be respectful to their mother, but they don't like step, I don't like step, so we go by bonus. And I feel like our family did the very best that we could in the situation that we were in. But isn't this just a beautiful little Christmas card? I send this out to you and write you the best story of all the great things that happened with this family. You know, or I could get really truthful with you and tell you the hard things that our family has and the hardships that your families have as well. And so we're blessed. Connor right here is 2 years old. This was in 2012. This is when Tyler graduated from high school. 2012, where does the time go? You guys, 13 years ago. Connor, or 12 years ago. So there's Connor. Yeah, 13. There's Connor. Who is 2, and Jake and Jesse are married, and they have these 4 boys. Connor, doesn't he look a lot like my tie? Connor's gonna be 14 years old coming up in May. My goodness. How many of you are wrestling families? Wrestling families, just 1? Oh, that's crazy. Oh, 2 of you wrestling? Oh my gosh. Connor, actually 7th grader, got to wrestle some varsity. We're a basketball family, so we don't even know what to do with this. But boy, lots of work with that. But Connor is going to be 14. We have twins, Grant and Riley, and they are 11. And then we have Patrick Ty, who is 8 years old. And then Josh is married to Miranda from Wabasso. How many people know Miranda? She's a Frank. The whole world should know them, right? So this is Miranda. You know, Denise and I were talking earlier. She says, you know, in families, it's really fun that when you have like an in-law that comes in that you just love and you can just have conversations with, and we're so grateful to have her in our family, because we just finished a 10-week estranged group where adults have estrangement from their children. It happens all the time, just so you know, if you have that in your family, you're not alone. And sometimes it really happens when an in-law comes in. And so you don't know really what will happen. And so we're so grateful. So Josh and Miranda, yesterday, the 9th was their anniversary, 9 years. And they have Kyler, and then they have Kendall J down here at the bottom. And so we're really blessed in so many ways in our family. And so the journey that I'll talk about is about Kaylee, because I'm her mom, and Tyler, because I'm his mother. And so I'll talk a little bit about Kaylee. So Kaylee, June 5th, 2013 is kind of the day that really strikes me in my mind. Kaylee graduated from Sleepy Eye High School. She graduated from Minnesota State University, Mankato, with a degree in English. She was an English teacher down at Martin County West in Sherburne and absolutely loved it. Plans were going really well. When she was 21 years old, she suffered her first grand mal seizure, and we started our world of epilepsy. When she was little, about 5, she started to flutter her eyes like this. And we thought it was a nervous tic because it was the time that we had gotten a divorce. And so we just thought that was it. Kaylee wore contacts and glasses her whole life. And we saw her flutter her eyes, and I would say, what are you doing, Kaylee? She's like, I'm just stretching my eyes, Mom. We'll find out that when she did that, those are called absence seizures. And you either grow out of them or you grand mal into them. So here's me, bad mom feeling because 21-year-old, she has grand mal seizures. She's had epilepsy since she was 5. None of us knew it. So it went undiagnosed. None of us knew it. So at 21, she goes into a grand mal seizure. My mom and I and Kaylee were on the mega bus. After she graduated from college in Mankato, we went to Chicago on a double-decker bus. And we ran around Chicago, had a blast. We went to the Billy Elliot play, which she loved. And it's when we were coming back on that bus that she had this seizure, and it started our world of epilepsy, which really, it's not a big deal to have epilepsy when you have medication that controls your epilepsy, which she did. When I fast forward into August of 2012, Kaylee and Tyler and I went to the Black Hills for a little vacation because Scott was out fishing in Canada. So we went to the Black Hills. When we were coming home from the Black Hills, Kaylee had a grand mal seizure in the car. And when she kind of woke up out of it, which takes quite a while for her to come to, so we're talking the next day. We were talking about it, and I just said, Kaylee, she had nocturnal seizures, which means that she would have to be napping and then wake up. So she was napping in the car and woke up and went into a seizure. When we were on the mega bus, she was napping and woke up and went into a seizure. Sometimes it happened instantly, sometimes it was 10 minutes later. She could get in a car and drive, and then it could have it happen, but it came from that. So I had suggested to her, I said, Kaylee, could we go to the Mayo Clinic? Could we go to the Mayo Clinic because it's the best? I mean, we were doctoring in the cities, and they kept giving her more and more medication as she seizured more. And I said, we have the best hospital in the world. Let's go down and get a second opinion. And I said, Kaylee, I just feel you're going to die. I do. They're so long and so hard. And I said, Kaylee, if you should ever die from a seizure, I'm going to live the rest of my life with regret because I didn't do everything in my power to save you. And she said, Mom, if I should ever die of a seizure, please know I didn't feel a thing. Yeah, I will just say it's quite a ride, and I'd be up in heaven looking down and saying, wow, this is where I am. And I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm gonna be mad at you. So that conversation sparked us to go to the Mayo Clinic. It did. So we went to the Mayo Clinic. She went to the Mayo Clinic February, March, April, May, and we were going back on May 25th. She hadn't had any seizures. I'm the mom of the year, right? I'm the mom of the year, saved her, no seizures. Moved to June 5th, 2013, Kaylee resigned her teaching job down at Martin County West because she was getting married to Kurt, the love of her life. She was moving home. She was going to teach school in summer school in Sleepy Eye. We were planning her wedding, which was January 25th of 2014. Doesn't this sound like a great plan? It was all great, January 25th, 2014. And then she would get married and go live with Kurt and live happily ever after. So June 5th is her last teacher day. I was working for the 4-H program. I was at a federation meeting at the time. I knew she was going to come home late this night. She was packing her bags, coming home, and she was going to stay there. It was about 10 o'clock at night when it was back when you didn't talk on cell phones when you were driving like you do today. So I called her and said, hey, Kaylee, are you coming? And I figured she's visiting friends. She'll be here. So I went to bed. My husband got home at about 11 o'clock that night and woke me up, and he said, hey, is Kaylee here? And he's like, no. And it was instantly like, something's not right. I called her girlfriend, Mary. So you can feel the The storm of life is coming in. Kind of looked like this. I called her girlfriend Mary, who was a co-teacher with her, and I called Mary. It's like 11 o'clock at night at this time, quarter after 11. She answers. I'm like, Mary, have you seen Kaylee? And she goes, oh, Deb, she should be home. She should be home. She goes, I'll drive to her house and see if she's there or find out. So she drives to her house, didn't talk to me on the phone because we don't do that while we're driving. She gets to Kaylee, she calls me, she goes, I'm here. Kaylee's in the bathroom. She's behind the door. She's obviously passed out. We've called 911. We'll take her to the Fairmont Hospital. We'll see you over there. And I was just like, all right, I'm running through the house. Scott and I get ready, my husband. I see Tyler. I'm like, Tyler, you got to pray for Kaylee. Something's not right here. Something's different this time. So we get in the car and we're driving down to Fairmont to the hospital. And I'm sitting there, what would you do? If you were driving or you were waiting, you didn't know where your loved one was and you were fearful, what would you do? What would you do? You doggone right. I prayed. I'm Catholic. Our Father, Hail Mary, glory be, begging. Okay, all right, I will never miss church again. I'm sorry for everything I ever did. You could just save her if you could just, just begging him and everywhere, just sobbing and just praying. And I said to Scott, I go, why doesn't Mary call me to tell me that the ambulance came and that they're on their way? Why didn't she call me? I go, I think she died. And he's like, stop it. You're being silly. And then the phone rang and it was Mary. And I was like, Mary, is she okay? And she said, it was a male voice on the other end of the phone. And he said, is this Kaylee's mom? And those of you who've been in it, you're just like, don't say it. And it was a police officer, and he said, I'm sorry, she didn't make it. And Kaylee died of something called SUDEP, sudden unexpected death from epilepsy. When a perfectly normal person who is on medication dies for no reason, she dies for no reason. Remember, I told her she would die, and I didn't do everything in my power. I'm the one that made her go. They changed her medication, and she died anyway. So it was kind of like I just blamed myself. Those of you that have had that phone call or have had that hard, it's so black, and it's so empty, and you think, what do you mean I'm not going to see her again? Like, what do you mean? Like, she didn't make it. And then I remembered this was really, it was the first time this blackness came over me, and I thought, well, where's God? And does he know? Does he know that this has happened? And where is Kaylee? And then I really started to question, now I'm a cradle Catholic, you guys. I grew up, I was born into a Catholic family, so what am I gonna be? I'm gonna be Catholic, and what am I gonna do? They told me, and I just sat just like I just did it. I did everything. And I didn't even know who God was, and it was so, so dark. And then I realized I would get home, and I was so empty and so blank, and I didn't know who God was, and this is what was going through my mind. I was bad. I divorced Kaylee's dad. I did. She didn't get to live with him, and I was bad, and I left the marriage, and it was me, and I hurt so many people, and I was bad. So obviously this is what happens to bad people. I'm being punished. And then I thought, my sins are so great, I don't deserve to be forgiven. Of course something like this would happen to me. So now keep in mind, I lost my daughter. Now I'm condemning myself. And just keep in mind, too, that when you have a loss or when you're hurting, that Satan will just attack you. So I was just like, so now I'm so bad. And then if I would have been better and if I would have pleased God, he would have saved her. He would have answered my prayers if I just would have been a better person. Like, this is all my fault that this happened to me. Then I thought that if I would have followed the rules. I know what the rules are. I know what they are. I know what I'm supposed to do. If I would have followed the rules, this wouldn't have happened. I did not feel any love from the Lord, none. I felt punishment, and I felt very alone. If you've ever felt like this or feel like this is a horrible, condemning place to be, and it was sucking the life out of me, and I was living in fear, an absolute fear base. And this part of it, Matthew 7:24-27, but everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. I heard the words. I did. I thought I was, sometimes you don't even realize what you don't know until you don't know it. I thought I had a relationship. I thought I knew the Lord. I thought I did everything right until this happened to me, and I felt very alone. So this is what I did. I just was on my knees. Like, I knew God was there. I knew I've been raised this way, and I'd be on my knees with my head against the bed just crying, like, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I prayed and you didn't answer my prayers, so I don't even know what to ask for. And I was so confused, and I was like, just send me a sign. Send me help. Like, I need help here. And boy, did God send an angel to my house. I have to tell you, in the loss of Kaylee, I knew that I was so loved. I knew I was so loved by so many people. And this particular woman is Chris Anderson, and she is from the Morgan area, has now moved down to Seneca, Kansas. And Chris was a 4-H mother. And now Chris, let me tell you what I knew about Chris. I hadn't seen Chris for 6-7 years, just like Marvin. Myron, I hadn't seen for 6, I mean, like, the 4-H families, like, saved me in such a way. But I hadn't seen Chris for 6-7 years. And I did not realize that she was at Kaylee's funeral, and that she saw this once vibrant program coordinator running everything, who was just broken. Grief is what happens to you when something happens that you didn't ask for and you don't control it. And it's different for different things. My grief for Kaylee, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't sleep. Completely self-condemning. I couldn't leave my house. I was anxious. I was a wreck, and I had this overwhelming urge to die all the time. Like, I didn't want to be here, and it was horrible. And that's grief. When Chris, this is what I knew about Chris. She was a 4-H mom. She was a 4-H club leader. They were pretty new to 4-H when I started, which was, God, that was a long time ago. But she had called me in a panic because their dog ate Irene's rabbit, and she couldn't show it for the county fair, and she wondered if she could show another rabbit. And the crazy thing with it is, now I know I would have said, well, you don't just tattoo one rabbit, because if you have to do more than one in case it gets, more than one animal in case something happens to it. But I was new, and I'm like, absolutely, she can show it. That's no big deal. And I'm just like, except for I found out you can't get premium money, champion, reserve champion, or a state fair trip, but you can definitely show that rabbit. So that was our connection. I also was had an ambassador program at all of her kids. What I did know about Chris is that she was very religious. She was very Catholic, and she was very perfect. She had 7 children and homeschooled them all back then, which was nuts to me. And they did everything right. They didn't have cable. They prayed together at night. They didn't have screen time. They were in demonstration, and they were in gardening. They did everything. They were perfect. They were a perfect family. Now, keep in mind, I'm so condemned because I'm so awful, and she's so perfect. She calls me out of the blue, and of course, when you're grieving, you don't answer the phone. She calls me out of the blue, and she's like, hi, Deb, this is Chris Anderson from Redwood from the 4-H program. Do you remember me? She said, I'd like to come over next Tuesday and take you out to eat. Would you be available? And I remember thinking, I don't leave my house. I might be dead by next Tuesday. Like, when you're grieving, you're like a minute at, I'm not even going to be around next Tuesday. I don't eat. I don't leave my house. And I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want you to come to my house. And so I ignored her. And she called me again. And then she said, hi, Deb, this is Chris Anderson. I'm thinking I would like to come Tuesday and bring a meal to your house, like noon next Tuesday. Would that work? And I thought, I don't think I'm going to be alive next Tuesday, and I don't eat, and I don't want you in my house. Like, leave me alone, really. Just leave me alone. I didn't want to be with someone who was so perfect, and knew God, And then she didn't give up. And this is the important part, is that she didn't give up. Just like when Myron showed up, when she had such a call on her to come see me, she called the 3rd time and said, this is Chris. I'm coming Tuesday at noon. I am bringing a meal. Either you answer the door, I'm going to leave it on the step, but I'm coming. And I was like, so I texted her, I'm like, okay. Chris came to my house. Unbeknownst to me at that time, she had no idea, what was she going to say to me? She's never lost a child, she said. She didn't even know what my faith was. She comes into the house, and I remember her story will be different than mine, but my story was like, when she walked in, she said, "The Lord's asked me to come and pray with you." And I knew he did, because she was so different. It's important to be different. Like I saw God in her. And then I knew he sent her to me. She came in, she asked me two really crucial things. The first thing she said is like, "I didn't know Kaylee. Can you tell me about her?" Oh, to talk about your person, right? To say, I just tell her, everybody else knew her, I just told about it. So even years later, just to say, "Hey, tell me about your dad." Today's my sister-in-law Denise's dad's birthday, 92 today. Just tell me about your dad. She'll tell you he's just like her, big mouth, big jokes, big laughs, the whole bit. But, Miranda's dad passed away as well. 54, Miranda, pancreatic cancer, what's that? And you say, "Tell me about your dad, Miranda." She'll tell you about her dad, because it's so great to talk about your person. Plus, then I didn't forget. So she asked me about her, so I got to tell the story. The second thing she said, now keep in mind, people would say to me, "I'm here for you, anytime. You can call me day or night. Whatever you need, let me know what you need. I'm here for you." You don't know what you need. I heard that from everybody. I guess God needed another angel, Well, he only takes the best. God does not give you more than you can handle, does he? No, he doesn't. No, I'm like, oh, he pounded me pretty good. He goes, here's a plant, a hot dish, a wind chime, an angel, a bench, which are all fantastic things. But those are all things, and none of that did I get to speak. None of it. Mourning is when you get to speak. Mourning is when you get junk out of you. And so, for instance, when she asked me about Kaylee, that's mourning, to be able to talk about it. Ask someone sometime, tell me about the funeral. Oh, people love talking about the funerals, because that's the time everyone came in and loved on you. But people like to hear those stories, but that was good. She let me mourn. The second thing she said to me was, she said, "I've seen people grieve in my life, never to the extent that you're grieving. Is there anything else other than Kaylee's death that is holding you back?" And do you know how, those of you who are in grief, when you have a grief, a lot of times it spurts something back here, like other griefs come up. I was like a volcano ready to erupt, because I had so much guilt, so much shame, especially it went all the way back to my divorce with Kaylee's dad, way back there. Plus then, just so many things. I thought I was a bad mom. I thought I was a bad person. In fact, the 4-H families that are here today, they were all, the plants, the gifts, the cards, the donations, the love, they were all there through all. And I thought that if people really knew me and things that I did, that they would not love me. And everybody that walked through the line, would hug me and say, "Oh, we didn't know Kaylee, but we know you, and you're so awesome and wonderful. We know she was fabulous." And I was like, oh, I fooled all them. And then her students would hug me, and they would say, "Oh, we don't know you, but Kaylee is so great, so, we know you must be." And I'm like, oh my gosh, I fooled all them. And I thought I was a fraud. That's an imposter syndrome. When you feel like you have dark things, but everyone sees you. And I just thought I wanted to stand up on this chair and say, "Hey, let me just tell you everything first, and then you decide if you like me, because I think you won't. God doesn't even like me." And that's what she let me get out. And when I shared with her all my ick and all my details and everything, she said to me, she goes, "Oh, so you're not perfect." I really thought she was going to say, "Oh, yeah, those are bad. Woo-wee. Yeah, wowzer, doggone ya." But she's like, "Oh, my gosh." And that's when she shared all this with me. Instead of what I was thinking, God isn't punishing me. He's walking with me, that my pain is where he meets me with compassion. Instead of my sins were too great, no sin is too big for God's grace. I'm fully forgiven, chosen, and loved. She was like, "Dump it, Deb. Oh, my gosh, a repentant heart. He loves you, Deb, so much." This part, God's love isn't earned. You can't earn his love by what you do. It's not earned. It's not what happened, but who he says I am. And even when I couldn't feel him, he never stopped loving me. He was always there with me. And God's not keeping score of what I do right and wrong. He's keeping me close. Pain calls for his presence, not punishment of me. And she showed me that I could live in love with him. Now I have to tell you, this will go to you Catholics that are in the room since I am one. I grew up in my dad was an Episcopalian and he changed to Catholic. And and my mom's very Catholic family, which I love my faith and I love everything about it. But my dad said, you know, Deborah, Catholics go to church so they think they won't go to hell. and everyone else goes to church because they love the Lord. And I thought, growing up, I went to church because I had to. I did so many things for rules, like, oh, I have to do these things. Otherwise, I had to earn it. And so she showed me that I was living in a misunderstanding. This is not our faith, but this is how I perceived it. But I was missing a relationship with him. And this part, you must love the Lord God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. This is what Chris had. She loved him. She talked about the Lord like he was like real, like he was her friend, like she could call on him all the time. And he is real. And he is our friend. And we can call on him all the time. She loved him so much. And then she said this to me, can I pray with you? And I was like, sure. And I thought that she was going to, Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, which are all fantastic. But she didn't. She wrapped her arms around me. She prayed that the Lord, that I was dumping all my guilt, all my shame, all the lies, everything at his feet. That he loved me, that I could feel his love, and that I would show up in his life, and that he would show up so present in my life that I would feel it, and that he would bring great purpose from this suffering. It was so intense, and I was in so much physical pain that I could feel the pain coming out of the top of my head, and I felt the Spirit jump within me. I did. When we talk about we all have the Spirit, and when people say, when were you saved? And I'm like, I was saved when I was, baptized. I was saved. But this is when I created a relationship and I hungered for him and something was different. Chris is so different. And you know what? She is so far from perfect. And her family is not perfect. And there was so much chaos. They're screaming at each other as they're coming uptown, sewing buttons on their clothes. They're a beautiful family, but they are not perfect. And so what Chris gave me was hope. She gave me hope. And in the beginning, too, it's like the joy comes from the Lord, from nothing else. I can teach you how to grieve, but what we have to teach is how to find the Lord. I had to get my faith, which was in my head, down to my heart, and I'll share with you how I did that. I did it with the Jesus Calling book, Bible, Mass, and I'll share that with you in just a little bit. So then I just want to move forward. As soon as Kaylee passed away, my husband said to me, let's do a 5K in memory of Kaylee on her 1-year anniversary. Let's call it Kaylee's Memorial 5K. It's right there, Kaylee's Memorial 5K on her 1-year anniversary. And let's give all the proceeds to epilepsy and to our students at Martin County West. So we're in. The reason why we chose this was not because Kaylee loved to run. The reason was Kaylee wanted to run a 5K, the Fairfax 5K, and she wasn't a runner, so she did that Couch to 5K. I realized that I ran all my life. I was in track and cross country. I've run. And I realized training with her that when you're not a runner, you're not a runner. How many of you are not runners? Yeah, you're not runners. Yeah, it was so much work. She worked so hard. Well, then Mary, the number 206, she said, I'll run with you. And then Jessie came. We had Connor at the time. She goes, I'll push him. Josh said, well, I'll run. And my husband and Tyler, and we all came and we ran with her. And when we came over the finish line, I was like, oh my gosh, Kaylee, way to go. Are we going to do this again? She's like, yeah, never. I will never do this again as long as I live. And then Tyler came in second overall, didn't train a day because, well, he's a runner. So anyway, now we had our event, and it was perfect because it gave me a focus. I'm like, okay, I've got something to focus. So we need a slogan, right? We need a race slogan. So I just thought, epilepsy stinks. I hate epilepsy. Stomp out epilepsy. I had and Tyler said, Mom, I do not think that Kaylee would want that to be her legacy, that epilepsy stinks. So he came up with this, be kind, Kaylee. He said, Mom, we're going to be kind to everyone because you know what? You look at people, you look all cute, but you have your deals. Every one of you could come up here and share a story because you all have it. We're going to be kind to everyone we know. We are going to give more to God. Her middle name is Marie. We're going to give more to God. We're going to give more to those around us. And humble. H, her last name is Hogue. Stay humble. Mom, everything is God's. We're going to give it up to God. We're going to ask for help when we need it. Be kind, give more, stay humble. And that's the slogan that we have for everything. Tyler came up with it, Kaylee's initials. And it's not just a slogan, but a way of life. And that is how we live, and that is what we wear. And those of you who have our clothing on, thank you for that. The next thing is having an attitude of gratitude. If you want to move forward in life, an attitude of gratitude. Lord, I thank you that everywhere I look, I see your blessings. So when Kaylee passed away, or whatever your heart is right now, it's kind of like this. What are you thinking about? Well, people are talking to you, and the pain is so deep, and it's sucking everything off you. And keep in mind, everything in the whole, everyone in my life was still present. Everyone. There was one person missing, and now I was dead. I was like a walking dead. She took my mind, my thoughts, everything that I had focused on her. The only way that I could get her off was, and see the blessings, was to thank God. To thank him that I was her mom for 24 years. To thank God that I got to see her say yes to the dress. To thank God that I knew she fell in love and had that love. To thank God for our trips that we did and the fun that we had. To thank God just for the conversations and the moments. To thank God that he died on the cross for me. To thank God for my family and my grandchildren and my children and my mom and dad who are still living. And so I could move her off my face. So she's here. I can see her. She'll never go away. And sometimes she comes back again. But I got to keep seeing my blessings and saying them out loud so that I can enjoy the beauty that's before me. You have to get it off. And then this too, random acts of kindness. When you can do something nice for the next person, like Myron, come to my house and sit and ask for nothing. Back in Sleepy Eye, when Tyler and I were in the gas station after Kaylee died, and you couldn't pay at the pump, but you had to pay inside. And we would be inside, and I would say, oh, I'll pay for the gas on pump number 3, and then I would pay for that. And then Tyler and I walked out, and he goes, Mom, that was really cool. And I'm like, yeah, don't tell Dad, So, but I give $500 to Subway, and I'm like, can you give like $105 gift cards and just tell them to pass it on? It's just that you have no control. So all I wanted to do was just give, and it helped me, and it healed me. And so as I move forward, I'm going to move us to March 5th, 2014. This is exactly 9 months after Kaylee passed away. And it was really, anniversaries are hard. This was Kaylee's 9 months, and I think that 9 months was hard because 9 months to have a baby, and then she was gone. And those of you who are walking along someone in grief, Kaylee died on the 5th of June. So the 5th of every month for that first year is nice for you to remember. So July 5th. Hey, thinking of you today, it was a month ago, June, July, August 5th, just for the first year. If you can remember that date, put it on your calendar, just send him a message, whatever. So important because you feel like you're not alone because the world keeps going, right? And your world's crushed. So as soon as someone tells you, like, I thought of you today, you're like, oh, thank you so much. And I don't know why this was so hard for us, but Tyler came home from college. Josh came home, Jesse and the boys, she had 3 kids at the time, my husband, my mom and dad, all came home that day. Now, something I should tell you about Tyler is that he really struggled at the loss of Kaylee, but I didn't know it because I was so in my own grief. In fact, people had a hard time grieving Kaylee because everyone had to grieve me too. My parents, my husband, Tyler, everyone said to Tyler, oh, be strong for your mom, where he was falling apart. Tyler and I had an incident that happened, well, backing up. After Kaylee passed, and really I wanted to die every day because she wasn't here, I looked at him and I said, you know that I don't wish it was you or anything. You know that I'm just sad. He goes, yes, Mom. And I said, and is there anything I can do to help you? And he said, Mom, you are such a downer. And I was like, I'm a downer. And he goes, Mom, I come home from college and I try to be normal. I try to get back into life, and you're so sad. I can't even come home. You're so sad. And it was just such a knock, for me to wake up and see him. And so then another thing that happened, Tyler had a hard thing, and he fell apart in front of me. And I remember him falling apart, and I just said, Tyler, I have no words except for, I can pray with you. And I wrapped my arms around him just like Chris did to me. And I prayed with him, and he melted, just like I did with Chris. And when I was done, he goes, Mom, that was so good. And I go, I know, it was so good. I'd never done that before. Then I gave him a Jesus Calling book, and I'd call him every night before he went to bed, and we'd read it. And his friends in college would say, hey, where's Hadley? And they're like, oh, he's praying with his mom. Isn't that awesome? He's praying with his mom. So Kaylee's death allowed us to grow deeper in faith. It allowed me to start sharing my faith with him, with Josh. I'd pray with him. Jesse, I gave Jesus Calling books. It grew us in faith. As Tyler was leaving that night, I said to him, I go, Ty, before you go, and I was looking up at him, and I said, hey, and everybody's standing around, I said, hey, if the Lord should choose to take you to heaven, because he could, I said, make sure you send me a sign. Kaylee gave me a purple petunia, right back? Yeah, Kaylee gave me a purple petunia. I go, you could send me a sign too. And he's like, okay, Mom, I'll send you a sign. And I said, and Ty, you know, when Kaylee passed away, I had a lot of guilt and regret. I just wished I was a better mom. I said, but if something would happen to you, you're spoiled rotten. I'm not going to have any guilt or regret with you. He's like, thanks for that, Mom. And I said, and Ty, if the Lord should choose to take you, if he should, I said, say hi to Kaylee. And I said, and just know that you're truly one of the greatest gifts God has ever given me. I'm so grateful. And then he went to kiss me on the cheek, and I said, no, kiss me on the lips, which might be weird to some of you, but as he went, Scott goes, what is wrong with you? And I said, I go, love your family, spend time, be kind, serve another, make no room for regrets, because tomorrow's not promised. Today's short. I go, I want you all to know how much that I love you, and I don't want to live with any regrets if something should happen. So he took off to college, and now 2 days later is March 7th, 2014, 9 months and 2 days after Kaylee passed away. Denise, my sister-in-law, said, let's go to this conference called Set Apart up in the cities at Northwestern College where she had gone to school, because God is setting us apart for something. Let's just surround ourselves. And I surrounded myself with everyone who knew more than I did in faith, which was a lot of people. And she was one of them. So we went up there. March 7th, 2014 was one of those days in the morning that it was really warm. And it was, Tyler was outside and he was shoveling off the driveway in shorts and playing basketball with his friends. And then it got colder and the temperatures dropped, and then the ice was freezing on the roads, and then the storm came in that night. And so we were up at the city. So that night, I did not realize that another storm was on the horizon. So I called home and I asked Scott, I go, hey, how's everything going? And he said, oh, Deb, there's a bad accident in town. It was right on the edge of town. He goes, the air ambulance came in, fire trucks. Boy, yeah, it's a big deal. And so, of course, the first thing I say is like, well, where's Kaylee? And, where's Tyler? And he goes, well, he was sitting on the couch with John. They were eating a Subway sandwich, watching the Timberwolves, and then the Wolves were losing. So at halftime, Kansas called them, so they just went uptown. They're just cruising around town a little bit. And I'm like, have you heard from him? He goes, Deb, you just left a little while ago. And I said, okay. So I called Tyler, and he didn't answer, which is a bad sign because Kaylee didn't answer me. And I just said, hey, Ty, there's a bad accident. I just need to make sure that you're okay. Didn't hear from, text him, hey, Ty, bad accident, just need to make sure you're okay. Hadn't heard from him. And then Denise came and got me, and we were with a group of women, and we all got together and we're talking about the day at the conference, how great it was. They asked me about the purple petunia. They asked me about Kaylee. So then I got to talk about it, and so it's so healing. So I'm feeling so good. I come back to the room, and it's about 10:30 at night, and I call Tyler, and he doesn't answer the phone. I call Scott, have you heard from Tyler? Hadn't heard from him. I called John, who he was with, hadn't heard from John. I started calling people saying, okay, I need to know where Tyler is. So what do you suppose I started to do? Oh gosh, I'm like, okay, this isn't good. This isn't good. It's not good. And Denise comes into the bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom falling apart, and her daughter is trying to sleep, and Denise is trying to sleep, and she comes in, and she's like, Deb, just come to bed. He's okay. And I turned to her, and I said, he's not. He's not. So then I called the police station myself, and I said, this is Deb Hadley, and I need you to tell me that my son Tyler was not in that accident. And the police officer said, we're on our way to your house right now. And I said, well, I'm not there. I said, I need to know if he's in that air ambulance and he has a fighting chance, or if he's already gone. And he said, I'm sorry, he's already gone. And I was just like, your world just gets really dark. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then he says, there were 4 boys that died in that accident. And I was like, what? Who were they? Who were they? And he's like, well, I can't tell you. And I'm like, oh, you tell me who those boys were. I'm going to come through this line and choke you. Tyler, who he was with, this is such a random group. So these are the 4 boys. The driver was Kansas. This accident, the Cenex gas station is right here in Sleepy Eye. You can see the corner. They went down the corner. They took a left. They were going the speed limit. It wasn't icy. I mean, the roads weren't bad that way. They got to the corner. It was glare ice. They went into a skid, and they hit a pickup going 30. And all 4 boys died instantly on the edge of Sleepy Eye right there in town. It makes no logical sense how that could happen. Peyton was 17 years old, a student at St. Mary's. His brother, Kansas, was the driver. Tyler, John, 18 years old, graduated from Sleepy Eye. He was going to college as well. He was the one with Ty. Caleb is from Springfield. He was a senior at Springfield High School. We did not know him. He was friends with Peyton. They were driving around, and so then they hopped in the car with Kansas. Kansas was the one that was in the air ambulance, and so these 4 boys died instantly. And I remember saying, you have to save Kansas because a mother cannot lose 2 children. As I was just sitting there right in it, and as I got off the phone, and I started to fall, and I was like, where was God in all this? And I remember, I'm like, I can't do it. And honestly, he just reached down from on high, took my hand, and he drew me out of the water. Like I felt like he was with me, and I knew he was with me because I had been building my faith on him. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain came, and the stream rose, and the winds blew, which it will, and it beat against the house, and yet it did not fall. I mean, it hit me back and forth. I can't even imagine where I would be today if I wouldn't have grounded myself in the Lord and trusted him no matter what, because my foundation is on the rock. And so I was transformed from the inside out, and a complete change of heart. And I felt his love. And I knew he was with me, and I knew he would help me, and I knew that he would walk with me, and I never felt alone through any of it. So how do you survive when your world is falling apart? How do you survive when your world is falling apart? Well, I'll share with you, this is how I survived and continue to not only survive, but thrive in a different way. Like, I am so sad. I always say I'm one of the saddest, most joy-filled people you'll ever find in your life. And I have so much energy, and I'm so exhausted. Who said that to me? I wish I had your energy. I go, oh, well, with the energy comes exhaustion as well. But it all comes from this. What you do is you build your relationship with God. Our grief groups are all Christian-based. When people say to me, I don't believe in God, or I'm turned away, I'm like, well, you got to be open to the option, because it's the only way, I can't heal you from grief. But when you build your relationship with the Lord, that is when you can transform brick by brick by brick by brick by brick, and to be intentional. If you want to build your relationship, as much as I love church, it doesn't happen coming every Sunday and sitting here in church. It just doesn't happen that way. You have to do more. Commit to making God first in your life. So how do you do that? Number 1, you got to choose him no matter what. So with me, that's a telephone going off. So when a telephone goes off, you owe $20. So we'll tell him that. And then I always tell Denise, we should get your phone numbers and then she would call you, and if your phones would ring, then we would make our money. So we forgot to do that, Denise. Dang it, next time. So choose him no matter what. So I tell you what, right now, I still have my mom and dad. I'm celebrating my mother's 87th birthday tomorrow. My dad is 89. I always thought, when my parents die, how am I going to live? And they're still here. I have all my brothers. I have my family. I have grandchildren, in-laws. I have all these people. Do you think that I'm going to lose any of them? I have a husband, for crying out loud. Do you think I will lose anyone before I? Yes, I will. And I'm going to stand tall and firm in him no matter what. Could I get a diagnosis tomorrow? Yes, I could. I will stand tall and firm in him no matter what. We need to learn how to suffer well, because suffering is going to happen to us. And so when the time comes, we'll see. We don't know how we're going to act when it happens. Doesn't mean you're not going to be sad. Doesn't mean you're not going to be knocked down. Doesn't mean you're going to be out of it for a while. But my love for the Lord will not waver. The second thing, you have to make time for God. You have to do this if you're going to be intentional. So for me, it's honestly at 5:09 a.m. It's probably really about 4:45, but I can't stand my clock saying that, so I put it fast. But make time. I have been getting up early in the morning. Weekends now, I don't do that anymore. I try to sleep in. But for me, I had to start my day, I have to take time for him and be still in his presence. I have to. And at first, my alarm clock is across the room, because if it's next to me, I'll shut it off and fall asleep. So I have to physically get up and walk over. The first thing when your feet hit the ground, thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Rather than, oh, another day. Oh, it's so early. You got to get your mind in the right to just thank you, Lord, or good morning, Lord. Here we go again, right? Good morning, Lord. Make time. Number 3, make a plan and be committed. So I got to tell you what my plan is. My plan, Jesus Calling. How many of you have a Jesus Calling book? Nice. If you don't, I would highly recommend. It's just a one-day devotional. My sister-in-law gave me a Jesus Calling book a couple years before Kaylee died. I would read it very consistently for about 3 days, set it on my nightstand, put it to the side, and about a month later, probably when I had a crisis, I'm like, I should get back into that book again, and I would pull it back out. The day that Kaylee died, at her funeral, Kathy Hocker, those of you who know, Kathy had lost her husband Joe 3 months before Kaylee passed away, handed me the exact same book and said, read this every day. This is what the Lord has to say to you today. I have read this book every single solitary day for almost 12 years. It is ripped, it is loved, and this honestly is what I feel the Lord has to say. And I was looking, I got up this morning, and of course I read it, and I just have to tell you, it says in here, trusting me so this is what he's saying to you, so just listen up, he says. Trusting me is a moment-by-moment choice. My people have not always understood this truth. He said, after I performed miracles in the wilderness, my children trusted me. So when they were out in the desert and they got food, they got the manna, they got the quail, they had everything they needed. Oh, he's such a good God. They trusted him. He said, but only temporarily, because soon the grumbling began when hard things were happening to them. He goes, isn't it often the same with you? You trust me when things go well, when you see me working on your behalf. This type of trust flows readily within you, requiring no expertise, no effort on your part. He's such a good God. And when things go wrong, your trust flows slow. It slows down and it solidifies. And you're forced to choose between trusting me intentionally or rebelling against me. Boy, how could a good God do that? Or, I love you, Lord, and I'll trust you. He goes, the choice constitutes a fork in the road. You either stay on the path of life with me and enjoy my presence and choose me and trust me in all circumstances, or you go the other way. Isn't that good? So there you go. What are you going to do? Exactly what I said today. So then, the next thing that happened is that I got a life application study Bible. Now, I have to tell you that this is not a Catholic Bible for you Catholics, so I think there's 8 really important books missing, so you should get that. But this Bible spoke to me. But I had gotten this Bible from my bonus daughter, Jessie, who's a beautiful Christian, several years before the kids passed away. And I remember when I got it, this is it. I remember I got it, and I opened it up for Christmas, and I went, that is thick. And I remember opening up the pages and going, wow, there are a lot of words on that page, and they're very, very small. I wonder what I do with this. Now, keep in mind, I taught, I was confirmed. I taught religion class. I was even a sponsor and had to read it. But this baby, I mean, it was thick and big, and I had no idea how to read it. So I just took it and just set it down next to the Jesus Calling book, let that baby sit there and did nothing with it. But then after Kaylee died, and I like, I have to know this, Lord. I have to understand him. Oh, I'll back up. You guys have till noon. I can talk to you all day. And you're in a soft seat. No, I got to back up. So when Tyler died, we were at Monsignor Lazinski's office in Sleepy Eye planning the funeral, my mom and dad. And my dad says to Monsignor, oh, yeah, looks at a picture on the wall, the Apostle Paul, huh? Yeah, they're talking back and forth about the Apostle Paul on the wall, the picture, and we go walking out of the church, and I said to my dad, how in the world did you know that that was the Apostle Paul? And my dad goes, because of the horse. The horse? Yeah, Deb, the horse. You know the story about, I don't know the story about the Apostle Paul. I go, how do you know the story? He goes, because I read the Bible. Oh my gosh. And so anyway, how many of you are going, what is that story about the Apostle Paul and that horse? No idea, do you? So I started Googling, what's the story of the Apostle Paul and the horse? And then I started to find it. Well, anyway, what I started to do, but I realized my dad knew the story. It's a great story. So those of you, like as I'm condemning myself, I'm no good. The Apostle Paul, who was Saul, was the first. He was there when Stephen was murdered. He was stoned for believing in Jesus Christ. And Saul asked if he could go and murder all Christians. Anybody who believed in this Jesus Christ guy, he goes, I want to kill them. And they gave him permission. So they say he was on the road to Damascus. They're not even sure if he was on a horse or what, but it's just what they depict. But he met Jesus, and then they say he got knocked off the horse. He was blinded. He had like these scales on his eyes. And Jesus says, what are you doing? I need you to save my people. I need you. And so then the scales fell from his eyes, and then he's one of the greatest of all time. He wasn't one of the 12, but he wrote 13 books in the New Testament. And who knew, right? How about that? I'm looking right at you because I know. But I didn't know. But anyway, Jesus calling. So then there's these little study notes, or there's Bible verses. So then I started reading the Bible verses. So if it was John 16:33, that's all I read, John 16:33. Then I would read the study notes. Well, then I'd read all of John 16, and then I read all the study notes. Well, then it really started coming to life to me. Then I'm like, well, who is John? Then I got to that Apostle Paul guy. Did you guys know that the Corinthians was not written by the Corinthians? And some of you are laughing, and some of you are going, I have no idea who wrote that book. And the Philippians wasn't from the Philippians. There were churches. I had no idea, and it was Paul that wrote them. But the study Bible tells you all these things. Anyway, this started to come to life to me. I started reading, in this world you will have troubles. There's so many problems and troubles and hardships that they've had, nothing different than what I experienced. Those 12 disciples, they were all fishermen, ordinary people that God grabbed. And even, like Denise says, even Peter, who walked with him, denied him 3 times, and he even saw the miracles. So of course we're going to sin, and of course we're going to fall away, and he loves us dearly. So once I started reading the Bible, this right here, this Bible, this is a little Catholic girl trying to find God, just so you know. It is ripped and loved in every way. I have a new one. But, we do sell the Bibles, but you got to get into his word. All right, I got to get going. And then when I would go to Mass, I knew the story. There's a New Testament, Old Testament, a Psalm, a Gospel. I knew the stories before and after. It was like reading the book and then going to the movie and seeing it all. And then when Father got up, I'm like, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to tell me? Because I knew the stories, and it started to come to life. It was a whole new thing for me. And then I went to Christian counseling. I went to Christian counseling because I had to find God, but also my dad told me that, Deborah, if you feel like something's not right with you, from a young girl, if you feel something's not right in your head, a strong person gets help. A weak person lets it destroy them. So if you're someone suffering in grief, or you're suffering in depression or sadness, and you stay in your own little hole, that's a very weak person. Yeah, is that you? Good, let's be strong, right? Yeah, I love that. I love that when she says, it's me. And I think too with grief, the more vulnerable that we become and say, here's my ick. When I told Chris Anderson my yuck, and she loved me even more as a result, then I was free. And when we can tell people too that sometimes when we lose spouses or we lose people in our lives, the relationship wasn't always good. Well, now you got to live with that. You can't even fix it. Well, yes, you can. It can be repaired. And it can be greater than it ever was before. But we have to get the help and not stay stuck because there's so much life. And because they passed away or because this hard happened, our life is not supposed to end. We didn't die. And I feel like if we die, then Satan wins. He would want nothing more for me. Can I tell Myron? Myron says, he goes, sometimes when I get up in front of people in church, like I get stuck and I can't even. And I said, well, Satan would love that, wouldn't he? To just shut you up. I mean, you came to my house, you're a Knights of Columbus, you're a great man. Of course he'd want to do that. Then we have to fight through that. And the closer you become to God and the more that you stand up and say, I'm going to trust him no matter what. Do you know how often I get knocked down? Where I'm like, I am so tired. There was a time where I would come speak and I would be crying before I would come in. I called Chris Anderson, my friend, and I said, Chris, I can't do this. I think I just can't do this. And she's like, no, Deb, God has put a calling on your life. Your story is way too great. You're supposed to bring people to the kingdom. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to give it to you. So when I come, I have no words. That's like, I don't know how long you're going to stay here. I don't know what's going to blow out of my mouth. And when you say, that's me, well, now we're going to talk about that because we need to help that. And tears are great, I want you to know. So if you're crying, good for you. And then journaling. Someone handed me a journal the first day that Kaylee died and said, journal every single solitary day. And I have journaled, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up. Denise and I we're starting on our Facebook page, daily Bible verses, putting them. Right now we're reading the Gospel of Mark. We just got done with John. We had a Zoom and invited people in. People were like, we're never around people who want to talk about this. Well, then be with us. Let's talk about it. Let's talk and grow in our faith. Be around people who can lift you up. Also, if you're around people you will become who you hang out with. And if you're around people who gossip, you're going to do it. If you come around people who are judgment or irritating or whatever, you're going to be just like they are. So it's really good who you surround yourself with. Number 5, take time to pray. This is my toughie because I said to Chris Anderson, why do we pray when he answers the way he wants to anyway? It doesn't make any sense. He's going to answer the way he wants, so why am I praying? And she said, because he loves it when we pray. That prayer is for him. It's to glorify him. It's to thank him, not for you to get what you want. Whoa, how about that? Not that I didn't, but that's what it is. So when I pray, this is what I do. Start out with a P. The first thing I do, and I wrote a journal, which I'll show you, but I praise God and I thank him first. Then it's repent, repair, renew. What do I need to work on? Where am I dying on the vine? Then I ask the Lord. I used to go in for the ask. This is what I need. This is what I need help with. My sister-in-law has cancer. Can you please help her and save her? You know, I used to go in for that, but I've changed that. And then to yield and be silent in his presence. And so the journal part, I just want to show you this. I didn't have my journal with me, so I did it on a piece of notebook paper this morning. I do this every single day. It's a 100-day journal, and you put the date in. P, 5 things you're grateful for every day. I was grateful I was back in Redwood County. I was grateful for my 4-H families. I'm grateful that my daughter-in-law is coming to see me today and that my sister-in-law Denise is with me. I am grateful that I got to sleep in a bed because yesterday I listened to a woman who goes to St. Mary's in Alexandria who grew up in Yugoslavia and talked about how when she was 6, the Russians came in and took them and put them in a concentration camp. And she had 2 blankets and she slept on hay and she ate mush with bugs in it. And she talked about her life. And then in the very end, she put how proud she was to be an American. And she said, our world, there's so much fighting and bickering. And what she showed, like what I take for granted, she was so grateful. She said that there were 16 people in her concentration thing that shared a half a loaf of bread. A half. It was cut into 16 pieces. She got just a sliver. She goes, I never throw bread. I never throw food. How much we take for granted. So right away, what are you grateful for? We have to be grateful for the little things. What needs to be fixed in your life? The new version of my journal is like repair, renew. What darkness comes to light? Maybe you say, I need help, right here. Maybe you're hanging on, you have guilt and shame. Maybe that goes right there. Maybe in this right here, I put in here almost every day, love is patient, love is kind. It is not irritable. It does not judge. Because I get really irritated, especially with my husband. And I love him dearly, and I don't want to take him for granted because I know some of you wish you had it. So I write that every day, love is patient, and it helps me. It's going to put me, love is not irritable, you guys. If you're irritated, judgmental, mad all the time, that's not love. So I put that. Another thing I want to tell you, there was a woman that really, really bothered me. I did not like her because she was not nice to me. I did not like her. I put her name on here almost every day for 6 months. I did not like her. And when you have bitterness or rage or unforgiveness, it's a foothold for Satan to get in. I wrote her name on there every day. God, I can't stand her. I mean, I went to hug her one day. Oh, don't hug me. Oh, she was just terrible. And so I just couldn't stand her. So I put her name up there every single day. And I realized that I started to volunteer less in church. When she was going to be there, I went that way. I mean, it was just horrible. And then down in the ask section, I asked him to help me love her. I prayed for her because something's got to be going on in her life if she's like this. And I prayed for her. And you know what? Pretty soon I quit writing her name up there. I don't even think about her anymore. So I don't even think. I pray for her all the time. She's my sister in Christ. It doesn't even bother me. So whatever that R is, ask for it. And this is where my sister-in-law has cancer. I'll write it in there as well. And then to yield in his presence. And the journal page, I always start out, Dear Lord. And I just, what's going on in my life or what I need help with or just what I'm grateful for. So you can do it on a piece of notebook paper, but to me, that's how I get into the Word. Read Jesus Calling in my Bible. These purple and teal were Kaylee's wedding colors, and orange and black were Tyler's school colors. So they're the same thing, but people get done with one and they get a new one in a new color. And then I wrote a book, A Guided Journey to Finding the Lord. It gives exactly what I did. It's grounded in Scripture that really spoke to me. And if you're interested in that. What you input, you will output. So when Kaylee passed away, I would read Jesus Calling and I'd write it on Facebook. And I called my page RIP Angel Kaylee. And I would write about it, and people started to follow it. And then when Tyler died, I quit. And people started saying, well, are you going to do that? Because I'm growing in faith, and it really helped me. And I'm like, really? I really like your ministry. I go, my ministry? What in the world? I don't have a ministry. And they're like, oh, yes, you do. So I thought, okay. So I called it RIP Angel Tyler Kaylee. So then this girl named Carrie, my husband was her husband's 5th grade teacher. And I met her. She lives down in Florida. She said to me, I think that you should have a new Facebook page, and you should call it KT Humble Hearts Deb Hadley. The reason why I think that is because I think that you really idolize your children in this one. What? How dare you say that to me, right? Idolize my children. What makes you think I idolize my children? Because it's called RIP Angel Tyler Kaylee? Because Kaylee's tattooed on this arm and Tyler's on this arm? Because I wear their prints around my neck and their signatures around my finger? Because I had Kaylee's jacket on and Tyler's shorts? You think I idolize my kids? What I realized in my life, just so you know, is that I thought the Lord was first in my life. But whatever you focus on is your idol. He was not first. My kids were first. My grandchildren were first. My parents, every living person was first. All I could do was think about them. He needs to be first. We need to get to heaven because of God, not because of our loved one that's there. So I had to work. I have a little cross right here to tell you who I identify it with. So she said, I think you should do that. And she was absolutely right. She said, this should be about bringing people to God. And then she said, and by the way, I think you should videotape yourself. I'm like, I am not videotaping myself because I do this at 5 a.m. in my pajamas and I look like crap. I'm not doing it. She asked for permission to create the page, which I gave her permission, and that was in 2017, February 14th, 2018. It's the first day of Lent. And I'm sitting at home saying, Lord, what can I do for you for Lent? For 40 days, what can I do for you? And I kept hearing the word, I want you to be humble. I can do that. I can be humble. How do you want me to be humble? I want you to be humble. It's not about you. I knew it wasn't about me. He goes, it's about me. I was speaking at that time. I thought, do you not want me to wear any makeup for 40 days? Is that what you want me to not do? Because I can do that. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not it. I want to just take you back to the moment, okay? So I have this robe that I wear. Anyone seen this robe before? Yeah? So I have this robe that I got from my mom when I was like 20 years old. I'm 59 now, so do a little math on that. So my mom gave me this robe, so I wear this every day. I have my Jesus Calling book. I'm sitting like this. My hair does not look like this. It looks like this. I have not brushed my teeth or combed my hair, and I'm sitting like this, and with my Jesus Calling book, and I hear from the Lord, yeah, you should videotape yourself. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I take my phone and I hit it, and I'm like, and I lost my voice for almost 2 years, so my voice to hear, and I'm like, welcome to the Morning God Boost. And I videotape myself reading Jesus Calling and giving a little message. So I did that the first day, and people started to respond. I'm like, I'm doing this for 40 days. So then the next morning I wake up like this. I start doing it again. And I post it. The third day I do it, my husband says to me, comes into my office, he's like, yeah, Deb, yeah, that little video thing you're doing, I don't like it. I tell you, I got so hot. I was like, oh my gosh, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. And I'm just like, I looked at him, I go, I am trying to be humble. He goes, well, you look sick. And I go, and I just kind of I turned away, I'm just like, you don't understand. I'm trying to listen to the Lord and be humble. He was like, I just don't like it. So then I drive down to Lee Center. I was still working for 4-H out of Mankato, and my mom and dad live in Lee Center. So I drive down to Lee Center. I walk in. I have 4 older brothers. I'm the only girl, and I'm the youngest. So figure that out. So it's a good place to be. My mom loves me, And so I walk in, and Mom's like, yeah, Debbie, that video thing, yeah, I don't like it. I think I started to cry. I got really hot. I go, Mom, I'm just trying to be humble. And she goes, well, Janice asked me if you were sick, but I told her you were just sad. So my mom and my husband, I really respect them. And if 2 people in a row told me that I look sick and sad, that is not the message that was supposed to be delivered. So the third day, I did my face and I got on. I go, guys, I don't know what to do. The Lord's asking me to be humble. I do not want you to feel sorry for me. This isn't about me. I said, I'm trying to just be a messenger. So I said, I wash my face every morning, pull my hair back, I have coffee, I'm up for like a good hour or more, so I got a little more rigor, and then I finished it for 40 days. And I have to let you know that my husband and my mother watched every single day. So I did it for 40 days, I was accomplished, and what do you suppose I did after 40 days? What do you do after 40 days? Quit. Of course you do. I quit. And then people started, there's me in the God Boost. And so people started saying to me, Dad, I really wish you would do that. I really wish you would do that God Boost. So Monday through Friday, since February 14th of 2018, I have been doing the Morning God Boost. It's a simple message that comes across that I remember Denise sometimes did it with me. The first time she did it with me, she said to me, what are we going to say? And I said, I don't know. She goes, well, I don't know what we're going to say. And then when we got done, she goes, are we going to watch it? Oh, no. We never watch it, because if we watch it, what I didn't realize in this morning, so I invite you to watch it, you guys. It's free. It's on KT Humble Hearts, Deb Hadley. What I want you to know is that when Chris came to my house, I don't know where I would be. I feel she had such a prompting, and I feel like she saved my life. When I did this, I felt such a prompting to do it, that it was supposed to be a message that came from me as a vessel, and it's not how I look or what I say, or it's not about me. And we just got done doing an estranged grief group of 10 mothers who are estranged from their adult children, and there's so much pain. And a woman on there said to me, did you start that in February of 2018? And I go, I did. She said, I was dying in a hotel room, not knowing how I was going to live. And that God Boost came across my Facebook page, and I have watched it every day, and it has literally saved my life. I thought it was about me, like what I was doing. It wasn't about me. We were in Peever, South Dakota, and Gail gets up and she says, my husband died 4 years ago, and I found this Deb Hadley, and I watched the God Boost. She has saved my life. It's not me. I didn't do it, but I definitely was obedient. When the Lord asks you to be obedient, do it. Because Cheryl Gayworth will tell you, she found me, and that's why I'm here. She has heard me speak dozens of times. There are so many people. Marcia Murphy from Mankato, she followed me for 4 years before her son was murdered. She goes, I followed you for 4 years before I even needed you. So the more you listen to podcasts, Father Michael Schmitz, Craig Groeschel, people, the God Boost, whatever, use that to strengthen yourself so that when the hard happens, that you've already been building your foundation. And trust that God has a purpose in your suffering and a reason for your struggle and a reward for your faithfulness. And do not give up, even though you can't see it. And so 3 months before Kaylee's big 5K that we were supposed to have, the boys died in the accident. So you either have it or you don't. So we changed it to Kaylee and Tyler's 5K run. We added a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. That's when Jerry Kill from the Gophers came up, and he was all part of our event. We had an auction. It was huge. We honored all the kids at the event, not just Kaylee. Someone asked me, are you going to cap the runners? I said, sure. I capped it at 1,000. Those 1,000 people were so grateful they got in because we had about 3,500 people that ended up showing up. I thought it was just a one and done thing. I was giving money for epilepsy and for Martin County West. And then all of a sudden, we had all these people and all this income. People told me that event at Sleepy Eye was the most spiritual thing that they had ever been at in their entire life. What was God doing? I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Wherever you are in your hard, He is not trying to harm you. He is prospering you. And He can only lift you if you're a vessel, and you will be lifted and stand firm in Him. I always say to people, if you lost your husband and you're just falling on the ground and you're just done, then that shows everybody that there's no hope. I saw a mother who lost a daughter years before I lost my kids, and she would wear glasses and she'd sit on the side of the gym and she looked just horrible. And I said, that would be me. I would be that person. If I ever lost a child, I'd be that broken person. There was another friend that lost a little 6-year-old boy, and it was when Tyler was 6, and she was hanging on to the picture of her son Wyatt, and she just wanted to jump in. And I said, oh, I'd jump in. You jump me and just cover me up, because if I lost my kids, I couldn't live. I couldn't do it. Because that's what I thought it was. But you know what? When you're in that situation, you have no choice. You have to live. And if your life is over, then you can't help the next person in line, and there is no purpose, and God can't use you. Be a vessel to Him. He has prospered us in so many ways. Because of this, KT, K for Tyler, Kaylee, T for Tyler, we have a grief support services. I didn't know what was going to happen with this. I didn't know what we were going to do with this. All I knew is that when we started this back in 2014, that it was supposed to help somewhere, somehow. Let me tell you the story about this. Share your faith with others. Mother's Day, 2018, I have a girl from Sleepy Eye send me a message via Facebook. She says, Deb, the Lord told me to send you this Bible verse. However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace. She said, He told me to tell you that. And as I read it, I thought, really, my life is really worth, what's it worth? Not much to me, but I know that I and you, we are to complete the task of the Lord that He has given us of testifying to the good news of God's grace. And I said, okay, that's what I'll do the rest of my life. I'll just testify to the good news of God's grace. And then she said, oh, I should back up. It's Acts. In Acts, remember now we're in the Easter season, Jesus dies, and then He rises, and then He ascends. And remember, when He was ascending, the apostles were like, you can't leave us. He says, if I stay here, then you're just going to stay here with me. and you're just going to travel with me. But if I leave, I will send you the Spirit, and then you will go out 2 by 2 and you will spread the good news of the Lord, and you will take me out to the world. And that's exactly what happened, and that's how we have the Bible, and that's how Christianity started. But if I stay here, you won't do it. I must go. So then she comes back and she says, yeah, those numbers mean something, that 20 and 24. Well, Tyler's number is 22, so I'm pretty sure, well, maybe it's 22, Ty, 22. And as I'm meditating and praying on it, I'm like, oh. Tyler died when he was 20. And Kaylee died when she was 24. And there is no way that I would be doing any of this. There's so many people whose souls I know have been saved because he said to me, right when Kaylee died, help those who are hurting find hope in the Lord and get to heaven. That's what I heard. Help those who are hurting find hope in the Lord. I would never have done any of this. It's a ripple effect of what we can do through our pain. Then, what happened after that? What happened after that, when we go back to this, I was working for hospice, Denise and I, and things were going great until they weren't going great. And I knew I had to leave, and she knew she had to leave. And so I started working on my website, Deb Hadley speaking, Deb Hadley grief coaching. Denise and I are grief coaches. I started working on it. I was coming up with my prices. I got a coach to help me coach it. And I was just struggling so bad. And I was in prayer one morning. This would have been just like in April of 2024. I was in prayer. And I heard the Lord just say, you're never supposed to do this alone. Not ever. You're not ever supposed to do this alone. And I knew that I was supposed to work with the foundation. I was supposed to work for my foundation. How do I work for a foundation? What do I do with that? So I called Denise and I said to her, I go, Denise, I think I'm supposed to work for the foundation. And she says, Deb, 2024 is your year. 2024 is your year. And I go, oh my gosh, this is back in 2018. I go, 2024 is my year. 2024 is my year. So I said, all right, I got a board together. I started working. They figured out a salary package for me. They started helping me. We don't have any money, just so you know, we don't have any money. So you know that God boost that I've been doing for the last 8 years? I go out onto the God boost and say, hey, we're starting this and we're doing grief support. We could really use some help. People started pouring. They became faith partners. They started pouring in and giving us money. We do remembrance walks. We do these events, and this money started to pour in. Denise, she's like, I'm quitting. She came with me with no money, and we have counted on the Lord and trusted the Lord. And I tell you what, he has flooded us. So then we started out with our grief support services, charging. We charged for our stuff. And then all of a sudden, God has been so good, and the donations have been pouring in. We waived all of our fees. So we don't charge anything for our grief support, which I'll share with you. So call to action. Here's what I ask of you. Make a choice to choose God no matter what. You got to make that choice. It's yours. Make time for him every day. What is your time? If you have little kids, it might be really early, but if you're up till 1 in the morning, you might be tired. Even if it's in your car or in the bathroom, make some time. Be committed to building a relationship with God. Share your faith with others. I'm working with a little girl. She's an 8th grader for grief support. And I asked her how her faith walk was, and she told me she lost her grandma who lived with her. She said, I've not ever been to church. But a friend gave me a Bible, so I'm starting to read it. And I said, well, I can help you grow with that. Gave her a Jesus Calling book for teens, been praying with her a little bit. She just emailed me and told me, God spoke to me, Deb. It was awesome. So I go, God spoke to me. He told me that he loved me and that he was with me. Why would he even say that when I didn't even believe in him? So what you can do when you share your faith, surround yourself with people who will lift you. Develop an attitude of gratitude. I got to tell you, last night my bed was hard. At the hotel in town, it was. Sorry, Cheryl, my bed was hard. I woke up so happy that I wasn't sleeping on straw with one little blanket, that I was warm, that I had a roof over my head, that people bought me this hotel room. You can choose of how you're going to look at something. And then Cheryl said, how'd you sleep? I said, I slept great. And I did, because I'm so grateful just to have it. What you input, you will output. What you read, what you listen to, the music that you listen to, the movies you watch, you will output it. So be mindful of that. Trust that God has a purpose in your suffering and never give up. And so in this part, it says, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. The joy of the Lord. If you want to find joy, remember, happiness is based on circumstances. Happiness is based on people and how they'll treat you. And everyone you see and everything you see will be gone one day. But the Lord is the same today, tomorrow, and always. The joy comes from him. That's why when you lose people and the hard happens, you can stand firm because your joy comes from him. This Easter season, too, just remember that Jesus died so that we may live. This world is just a skip. John 14, 1 through 4 is one of my favorite Bible verses. It says, there's more than enough room in my Father's house. And if this were not so, what I have told you, that I am preparing a place for you. And when everything is ready, I will come and get you so that you will be where I am and you know where I'm going. And after Kaylee died, I thought, how do I live the rest of my life without her? And now I realize, you know what? Her room was being prepared just like he said, and he brought her. Tyler's room was prepared just like he said, and he brought him. My room is being prepared. It could be today, tonight, or tomorrow. It could be yours today, tonight, or tomorrow. So my whole thing is, if it's today, well, I want to see the blessings, and I want to enjoy the people in my life. But if he brings me home, my heart will be ready. So I'm going to bow and have you bow, and I'll pray with you, and we'll close out. So, dear Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for the gifts of today. Thank you for bringing the people here together. We know that life can be a struggle, and people have suffered many things, Lord, and I ask you just to wrap your arms around them, to fill them deep with your presence, and let them feel your love. That they realize, Lord, that you're there, that a relationship with you, it's not rocket science. It's not all these things you have to do and all these rules you have to follow and all this stuff. It's a true trust in you, Lord, knowing that you love us, knowing that in the hard that you're with us, knowing that our suffering is not just to suffer, but there is great purpose in it, knowing how powerful our testimony can be if we just dare trust in you and share it with others. What is the purpose in suffering, Lord? We don't know. But what we do know, Lord, is to point people to heaven. Help us all to be vessels, Lord, vessels for you, to live every day as if it's our last, to live every day knowing that today we could be in eternity with you. So we thank you and we praise you. We lift this up in your heavenly name. And in the words our Savior gave us, we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And with that, my friends, we always say, be kind, give more, stay humble. Shine God's love and light on all you meet, and may God bless you richly. Amen. Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing me. And I do want to share just a little bit on KT Humble Hearts. We are grief support. We're nationwide. We have people in Ecuador, the United Kingdom. Most of it's online. So if you need grief support, by all means, join us. You can go to kthhumblehearts.org. Are we going to do a drawing, do you think? What we could do while we're doing this, nah, we won't. Do you want to fill out a little sheet to get a drawing for fabulous prizes? Yes? All right, pass them out. If you have a card, fill it in for fabulous drive, and I'll speak this, fill this in, and we'll do a drawing. Sorry. You know, I talk a lot, but I knew, it's 11:11, that's a sign from my daughter. KT Humble Hearts, what we live on is a pay it forward philosophy, and so that's why we ask for faith partners. We do a free will offering if you want to join us. I also want to invite you to our remembrance walks that we have. We have one in Sleepy Eye on September 14th, 2025. It's always the second Sunday of the month, or second Sunday in September, in Alexandria, and the fourth Sunday in September in Sleepy Eye. These walks, we remember your loved ones, where we put their pictures out on the path, where we put them on the big screen. We have a meal together, music, great message. So it's always. So join us for those. You can find them on our website. Saturday, May 10th, 2025, we're having an event called Resurface in Alexandria. And, oh, look, it says 20, oh, I thought it, forget it. I thought this 2505 was a typo, but that's the address. With 4 fabulous speakers. Jody Sandman will be one of our speakers. She's from this area. She struggled with addiction. Natalie helps us. She talks about mind, Natalie body, me soul, and Sarah does praise and worship. It is $59, but if you wanted to sign up today, we would sign up for $39, but that is May 10th. And then also, we have a store with our Be Kind, Give More, Stay Humble items. All the proceeds go to KT Humble Hearts. It's all of it. My book, the journals, the cups, everything. And just be a source for us to get our slogan out there. And I just thank you for allowing me to share my story with all of you. All righty. Denise, what are our fabulous prizes? She's got them. Oh, good. All right, while she's talking, this is the KT Humble Hearts amazing coffee cup. So while you're watching the Morning God Boost, you can drink your coffee with us. So this is a fabulous prize. Also, we have a Morning God Boost journal, as well as the book. Also, we did put a space on there, which I should have told you, that we kind of ask, what's your grief? If you're interested and you want us to reach out to you, we certainly will do that, or you can talk to us afterward. Everybody's in? All right. Now we have to dump them together because we know if we go out of Cheryl's basket, that it's going to be someone on that side. Maybe we should do that. Maybe, well, no, they're together. But they're on top, so now we have to mix. If I pull from the bottom, it's going to be this side. If I pull from the top, it's going to be that side. All righty. Cheryl's going to pull, so you know it's not rigged. First one is for this fabulous coffee cup. Dun, 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 dun. The first one goes to Audrey Prokash. Woo-hoo! Well, you can drink that in the shop, Audrey. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. The second one is The Morning God Boost, my book.
Oh, hold on. We have a couple that put theirs in the basket there.
Oh, good. I'm glad you said that. This is Audrey's name, so I'm just moving it out. Oh, those could be special ones. Okay. Okay. Oop, oop, oop. All right, are you ready? Dun, 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 dun. This is a folded one. If you folded it, it could be you. Ann Weber. Woo! Come on down, girlfriend. Nice work. Ann Weber. Well, thank you. You're welcome. And the journal. All right, and the last one. What in the world does that say? Jane Sullivan? That's good. Look at the U's, looks like 2 E's. Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations, Jane Sullivan. Woo! All right, thank you, everyone. And now there's fellowship, and in the very back, and you know what? I can stand here and take autographs. Oh boy, I was very fortunate to be featured in a magazine that goes up in northern Minnesota, and we don't want those in our office, so if you take one of those, that'd be great. But also share the story with others, and because it does provide some hope, right? All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
Just thanks for everybody for spreading
Well,
the
here.
word. Thanks to everybody for spreading the word, letting people know that Deb was coming.
Yeah.
She's been my support and my boost for almost 15 years, or well, since you started your God Boost.
You know what's weird? The gals in the back, I spoke, Kaylee died on June 5th of 2013, and Chris Anderson had me speak just a few months after that. And yeah, and you guys, you were there. I mean, you were there. Oh my gosh. I think I shared the purple petunia back at that time because I think that was, yeah. So that is when I first started. That was before, and the day that Tyler's funeral, I was supposed to be speaking that day as well. And yes, in El Paso. Yeah, thank you. And but instead, I spoke at Tyler's funeral instead. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. Like I said, it's been a lot of hard things, and those of you who feel really knocked down, I think the deeper you're knocked down, the more that the Lord will lift you if you allow him to do that. So thank you.